So the way that fair trade works, like if you buy fair trade coffee, our United Methodist Committee on Relief works directly with communities. Communities come together and the farmers come together to create these cooperatives. And so the farmers are working their land. All of their produce that they're producing, the coffee beans, goes together, and then they sell directly to Equal Exchange, and it's certified as fair trade, which means that there's no slave labor, there's no unfair labor practices that have been used. And so what happens then is in the final cost of the product when it's sold here in the United States, then the money, most of that money then goes back into that community. And so what happens is in this community where people may used to have lived in corn husk huts, they now live in sturdy housing. They're able to provide education for their children, health care. They're able to develop roads and infrastructure and increase the standard of living for everybody in the community. And so by buying and purchasing fair trade products, you're investing in improving the lifestyle and the living conditions, not just of the workers, but of the whole community. Within the old system, and actually some of the current systems of free trade and free market, artisans sell their products to a middle person for next to nothing. And they're not able to lift themselves out of poverty, even though the final price back in the United States is fairly expensive. Most of that money does not go to the artisans. And so what happens then is that in many places in our developing world, there's been this great desire to escape poverty. And so across the world, you have this kind of migration to industrialized and developed countries in Europe and the United States, because people see that as a way of being able to escape poverty. Some folks have thought that fair trade is the same thing, it's connected with NAFTA, and that's not at all the same thing. Free trade is about open markets between countries. Fair trade is about working directly with the cooperatives, with the laborers, with the artisans, and buying directly from them. One of the important aspects of fair trade and why it is important for people of faith to look at being able to change our buying patterns is that it's a way of restoring dignity to individuals who are all beloved children of God. They are gifted, they are called, and living in the midst of poverty while working very hard is not in keeping with God's vision of what life is like. And so it's a way of being able to restore dignity, and it's a way of being able to create a relationship through the Holy Spirit by saying, you're important, so I'm going to be making changes in my life and buying products that allows your community and your neighbors to be able to flourish. What I have found is that it's good to kind of start with thinking about what is one area that I can change in terms of my consumer practices. And so I started with tea and coffee. And so I started by buying my tea and coffee through Equal Exchange. And then I actually found out there was a fair trade store nearby my house, and so I buy my tea there. I still get coffee through Equal Exchange and UMCOR. And then I began to learn more and more about fair trade. And so what happened is then now I try to buy all my jewelry that's fairly traded, and I go to the global galleries. 10,000 Villages is a company. I did most all of my Christmas shopping this year online by Googling 10,000 Villages and fair trade products. One of the great things is United Methodist, our United Methodist Committee on Relief, has a program that's called Equal Exchange, and you can actually Google Equal Exchange, it'll come up, it's UMCOR, but you can buy products like coffee, tea, hot chocolate, which is very delicious, and you can buy those products through UMCOR. There are also fair trade stores. The jewelry I'm wearing is actually fairly traded, and I got them at Global Gallery, and so you can purchase jewelry, you can purchase clothing, you can purchase arts and crafts. It takes a commitment because the end product is a little more expensive. What I liked about it is that by buying fair trade products, not only am I getting a good product, but by buying that product, then you're also ensuring that the people on the other end are able to improve their standard of living.